Hi everyone, Kristina Werner here. Welcome to another video for SimonSysStamp.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this fun Mother's Day card using the Spring Flowers 4 stamp set. This is a great stamp set with lots and lots of images, and I thought it would be really fun to create a card using nearly all of the images. So I'm going to stamp them together. I'm leaving them on the sheet, and I'm just temporarily adhering them to the door of my MISTI stamp positioning tool so that I can stamp them all at the same time. Got some white cardstock in my MISTI. This is some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm inking up my stamps using VersaFine ONYX black ink. Inking those up, and then I'll go ahead and swing the door over and stamp those down onto my paper. I'm going to walk my fingertips over each one of these images. I'm sort of moving from the right over to the left, and this makes sure that I hit all of those stamps and I get a really good impression. And I love how this looks with all of them stamped and ready to add color. Now, if you wanted to, you could definitely color all of these with your colored pencils, or if you've used a Copic-friendly ink, you could use alcohol markers on these. Today, I'm not going to be doing any intricate coloring. Instead, I'm going to add all my color using ink blending. In order to get some really fun blends, I'm cutting each one of these images out. Now there is a coordinating die set for this stamp set, so if you want to skip all of this very time-consuming scissor cutting, you could. You would just need the dies. I don't have the dies personally, so I just use my scissors and cut all of these out. I've then protected my work surface with a slick surface here so that I can do some ink blending. This is the Tonic Easy Clean Matte, and I'm using 5 colors from Gina Designs. I've got Wild Lilac, Passionate Pink, Wild Dandelion, Key Lime, and Jelly Bean Green. I'm going to start with Key Lime, and I'm using some blending brushes from Honeybee. You could use any blending brushes you have, or blending foams even. And I'm starting with this lighter green and just bringing it in on the leaf images. My plan is to have 2 different tones of green, a bright green, and then coming in with a darker green. So I'm adding a little bit of this bright green on each one of these shapes that I've cut out, and then I'm coming in with the darker green, just right over the top and kind of filling in those white areas, adding just a little bit of variation in the green shades on all of these leaves. I then cleaned up my work surface here so that I could move on to a different color of ink. I wouldn't want to move on to a different color and then have it swipe in and bring that green onto my shape instead of the new colors I'm using. I started with the yellow shade and put that in the center of these flowers, and then I came around the outer edges with some other colors. I've got this really pretty pink color, and later you'll see me add some purple to that smaller flower. While I've got the pink out, I added some blending onto this larger flower and then added the purple on the other side, just trying to get a variation in color as they meet there in the middle. I did the same on the rose, this time going from yellow to pink, and then I added some purple onto this smaller flower. So basically, I wanted to have a different color of ink on each one of these elements, all the flowers and leaves. And when it comes to my grading, I'm using one of these many sentiments from the Reverse Mom Sentiment strips. I'm going to cut one of these out. And whenever I cut a sentiment out of any of these sentiment strip sets, I like to store the remaining pieces inside a stamp storage pocket. I have it labeled on top with exactly what the set is, and I just close that up and then I can come back and find all the pieces later. I then started putting together my card, and my card base is made out of some Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and it's nice and big. It's 5x7. That gives me a lot of space to use all of these little flower and stem images. After I had them arranged in kind of the basic positioning where I want them, I then cut down some foam tape into smaller squares that I could put behind each one of these elements, and then I started adhering them to the card. And the method I used for this was just very gently and carefully removing one image at a time and then replacing it. And I started with the bottom images first so that I could then adhere the top layers after. So I started mostly with adhering all of the leaves because the leaves are on the bottom layer of this kind of big pile of flowers and leaves. And I just really took my time and tried to assemble these in a way that looked nice to me. There was one that I did glue down directly to the card front, just the stem, because I wanted it to go behind the leaves that were already there. And I didn't want there to be too much overlapping or like having it stand up even more off the card base. So after I had that glued down, then it kept moving, and then I eventually adhered all of the flowers to this entire card. The last thing to do was to put on my greeting. So I decided at this point to cut this greeting into 3 pieces so that it would take a little bit of a larger area over the center flower. So I adhered those with a little bit of foam tape on the back of each one, and I kind of let them be tilted a little quirky so that my non-perfect cutting job on that sentiment strip would not be as obvious. I added one more leaf over here on the side. Then I decided it would be best to add a little bit of a stitching line around the outside edge, mimics the stitching lines on the stamp images. So I just used a black pen for that, and I made that a little bit of a wonky kind of organic line as well. So that's the card for today. Just a reminder that all the supplies are available at Simon Says Stamp, and I will catch you guys in another video very soon. Thanks so much for watching.